Let's not get hung up on the saying about the roof of the house. Anyone can be the one in charge. It's perfectly fine for a house to have two leaders. The wife can be the head of the house, and I'll be the pillar. In fact, nowadays, houses have flat roofs. They don't even have that traditional roof anymore, and it doesn't matter at all. What's important is the unity within the family. Dear friends and viewers, since ancient times, our ancestors have had a saying: men build houses, women build homes. However, in this modern era, this saying, we don't know if it still holds true in every circumstance or if it's right for every case. Let's join today's program, Chatting with Martin. Hello to all the dear viewers following our show. This is a very interesting topic, a very old one, but one that always has new elements and new perspectives. And surely, if this were discussed in public, there would be many conflicting opinions. Nowadays, in many families, there's still the notion that the man is the pillar of the family. He's responsible for the big, important matters, responsible for the finances. Meanwhile, the wife stays at home to take care of the family, to preserve the family's happiness. First of all, we have to revisit that saying. Men build houses, women build homes. This is a proverb passed down by our ancestors and has been accumulated over many, many years. And it affirms a division of labor between the woman and the man within the family. Building a house, in this sense, means you need money. It's like saying, you, the man, just go out and make money. You go drill for oil. Bring back the raw materials. The woman will take care of the rest. Your job is to build a house for the family. And yes, that means a literal house. And then, the woman builds the home. The house may be grand, but how the family is organized, how everything is arranged and kept tidy, how cozy a family dinner is, or what the atmosphere in the home is like, is said to be in the hands of the woman. This division of labor was suitable. In the past, back when society was much less developed, men had to do the heavy labor. Things like going into the forest to chop firewood, gather lumber, or plow the fields on a farm. Meanwhile, women handled lighter tasks, like gathering, staying home to care for the children, planting vegetables, and raising chickens and ducks. However, we all know that nothing in this world retains its value forever. As society changes, so do those values. Today, we know that women have equal access to education. Many women, after finishing their bachelor's degree, go on to get a master's. After that, some even earn a doctorate, while others start their own companies and become entrepreneurs. There are women who are 28 or 29 and still unmarried, but they already own an apartment in a very high-end complex. They have their own car, and she has her own well-off bank account and has even built a very respectable career for herself. Some of them even have a whole team of employees working under them. So, if you were to tell a woman like that, now that you're married, you just have to stay home and build a happy home. First of all, it would be a huge waste of resources for society. And second, she wouldn't accept it. They'd rather not get married at all than marry someone who would force them to stay home and be a homemaker. No way. Another thing is, in today's modern society, men are also quite vulnerable. They may not be as fortunate or as sharp. So if you place the entire responsibility on their shoulders to be the pillar of the family, you have to go out and make the money. If you can't provide for your wife and kids, you're a disgrace. You're just the kind of man who wears a skirt or hides behind his wife's skirt. Then honestly, you just feel sorry for him. So there have been some shifts in perspective already. Women also build the house, and men also build the home. So, in those families where the wife is financially independent, or is busy with her business outside the home, should the husband switch roles in that case? The truth is, people still say that when you get married, birds of a feather flock together. Women who are already successful, like a female lawyer, say she has her own law firm. For example, she definitely won't love or marry a man who has no ambition. She won't marry a man who doesn't have a backbone. Some old-fashioned guy who now tries to tell her what to do. Or a guy with no career. Usually, a female lawyer would be with a man who is at her level or higher. Or, say, a provincial director of police. Something like that would be a worthy match. So it's certain that they both have a positive outlook. Both of them just have their two careers. As for housework, whoever has the time does it. And in fact, the wife probably doesn't even do housework. The husband doesn't do housework either. They have a housekeeper. At home, I can also do a number of things. I can mop the house. I can wash the dishes. I can also put the clothes in the washing machine. And I can take them out of the washing machine to hang them up to dry. Meaning, I can do all the things that my wife has done, right? The most fundamental thing is that I don't have the mindset that this chore is for women and that chore is for men. Because nowadays, nothing is really too physically demanding. These kinds of tasks are very manageable. They're doable. Meanwhile, the wife has other work. She's busy. And then, if you see a pile of clothes that just needs to be put in the washing machine, and you say, nah, that's a woman's job. It just seems so illogical. Look, in a family, whoever is available should just do it. Whoever gets home first starts cooking the rice. If there's a dish you can't make, then wait for the other person to get home. Or just learn how to make it. There's so much online, right? You can even find tutorials on YouTube. If, in a family, both the husband and wife are capable and equally talented, then that's great. There's nothing more to discuss. But it's truly unfortunate if the wife is very capable, has social standing, earns good money, and is very proactive, while she ends up with a husband who, first of all, has a limited mindset. He's always stubbornly insisting that certain things are the wife's job, and if he does them, he'll lose face or feel ashamed, as if he's no longer a man. He doesn't earn the money to build the house, but he also refuses to help build the home. He just lies there like a statue and starts ordering people around. That is really a pity. There have been men who, when they feel inferior to their wives, try to hold their wives back from advancing, getting all sulky. You never think this family is important at all. You don't think about me, do you? You're just out working your butt off all day, hugging that law firm of yours, for instance. And then, or you're always obsessed with your precious career and reputation. And then, he starts pouting. Some have even had an affair just to get revenge on their wife. Number one cares about me. Who would dare to cross the great teacher? Who would dare to disrespect the great doctor? A pathetic guy like me can only get with some hairdressers, for example. So, what's the purpose? To make his wife change. It's like, imagine two people in a race. Instead of trying his best to catch up to the other person, or even surpass them, he resorts to playing dirty, or sticking your hand and foot out to trip the other person up, making the other person fall flat on their face, or blocking their way, grabbing their shirt so they can't get ahead of you. This is playing dirty. The first consequence is that it will be a collective loss for the whole family, if the man himself can't be the pillar of the family. And then he even holds his wife back and keeps her from getting ahead. Then both of them will stagnate, and they won't bring any benefits to the family. So the family will either be poor, or they'll just have to accept a life of just getting by. The children will also lose out, and society will also lose out on the contribution of that woman, you see. So I think that for those men, if we're not fortunate, if we don't have the means to be on par with our wives, we should just let our wives be. Don't go on about how a house needs a roof. Anyone can be the roof. A house with two roofs is perfectly fine. The wife can be the roof of the house, and you can be the pillar. Or having two roofs is also good. And in fact, nowadays, there are flat roof houses. They don't even have a roof anymore. And that's perfectly okay. What's important? Unity within the family. If you can't help, at least don't get in the way. Now, as for proactive men, when they realize at the time of marriage that they feel inferior to their wives, they try harder, they go back to school, they establish themselves, They prove themselves, show that they have their own strengths. It's not necessary that if she has a master's degree, the husband has to try and get a master's degree too. But if he strives to become the owner of even a small restaurant, that's fine. He's still a boss. He's still contributing to society. He's still earning money, bringing it home to the family. There's no way his wife could look down on him, especially given his conduct within the family. If it could be like that, it would be wonderful, wouldn't it? Model, I've encountered quite a few cases like this. In the first case, it's when a woman strives in her career, becomes successful, and develops herself. She starts to interact with all these other men, who are also handsome, tall, charismatic, talented, and creative. She comes home, looks at her husband, and just feels fed up. So after a while, she starts to get tired of her husband. There's an old saying that goes, love your own husband, even in his torn shirt. Ignore another's, even in his fine robes. But that's outdated now. Nowadays, when you interact with talented men every day, you naturally start to develop feelings. You say one thing, and you're both on the same page. You go out to eat together, work together, care about the same values. It's easy to grow close. Meanwhile, at home, her husband is in his shorts, mopping the floor or taking care of the kids. Of course, the woman might feel touched by that, but deep down, there's a comparison happening, and the image isn't very favorable for the husband. After a while, the couple's relationship just drifts apart, and cracks begin to form. On Saturdays and Sundays, instead of being at home, happily cooking with her husband and kids, or going out somewhere, she still goes on dates with her business partners. Yes, with this guy and that guy, driving around in cars, going here and there. And what's bound to happen, happens. The family will inevitably face some turmoil. So, this fear that many men have that when their wife surpasses them, she'll turn around and look down on them, it's real. It's not just their imagination. The second type of case is when the wife is very capable from the start, but she loves her husband very much. And he just isn't making any progress. He loves her, he cares for her. It's just that he can't seem to develop any further. But he just quietly resents it, sulks, and gets irritable. He gets resentful when his wife goes out. So, she has to push herself to the limit, trying to be both the breadwinner and the homemaker. She wakes up early in the morning, cooks to be the perfect wife, goes to the market to stock the fridge. Some even prepare the rice in the cooker ahead of time. She serves her husband and kids to the point where, as people say, she's waiting on them hand and foot. She does it all, so he has no excuse to criticize her. To say, you're so obsessed with your career that you're neglecting the house and the family. But she's trying too hard. And if you push yourself too hard, you'll eventually break. A person isn't a machine. After all, you can't be an expert in one field and also an expert in another. So, she ends up taking care of the whole family to the point where she doesn't even have time to eat breakfast herself. Then she rushes to the office and buries herself in work. For lunch, they just have a simple meal. Some women even skip lunch altogether. Then, in the evening, they come home and are swamped with cooking. Meanwhile, the husband shows no sympathy whatsoever. He just sits there with his legs crossed, reading the newspaper or scrolling through his phone. And the moment his wife gets upset, he snaps. What have you done that gives you the right to be so dramatic? I'm at home, and I'm exhausted too. Just because I don't go out to work doesn't mean I'm not tired. In other words, they only think of themselves. They don't think about their life partner. That's why so many women are deeply hurt. And when they're hurt that deeply, they'll secretly seek revenge. They'll secretly get revenge by having an affair. They might not even have feelings for the other man, but they get involved with him to get back at their husband. And the consequence of that is when the affair is exposed, the family falling apart is a certainty. She just wants to hold on, meaning she doesn't want to give up her career. But she also doesn't want to lose this family. So she has to push herself to the limit. When she pushes herself too hard, during my counseling sessions, I also tell her, you need to talk with your husband. Actually, husbands, men, are quite easy to please. So when you get home, don't play the role of the director. Still be his wife for a bit. At night, say, "Honey, take me out for coffee. It's been so long since we last went." And don't bring your workout, and do it right in front of him. He's eating dinner, but you're still discussing work matters. On the phone, launching this project and that project. Then you say, "Wire me $500,000 immediately." It sounds really intimidating. He might think you're just putting on a show. In reality, it might genuinely be an urgent matter, but you should still be a little more tactful. Secondly, for a woman who is already successful, if she wants to be even more successful, she should also help her husband become successful. Some women are very clever about this. She brings her husband along, initially just to be her driver. Then, he doubles as her bodyguard. After that, she arranges for him to be the head of human resources, if she's the company director, or she arranges some other title for him at her office, company, or business. This way, firstly, the husband and wife are very close. Secondly, he won't feel so inferior. She can be the chairwoman of the board, while he's the CEO. For example, you both move forward together, right? That's what makes it sustainable. As for the third point, if you try to pull your husband up and he just won't rise to the occasion, then you shouldn't try to take on every single thing yourself. Cut back on your spending and use that money to hire a house helper. A modern, capable woman isn't someone who does everything herself, but rather, what is she? She's someone who knows how to delegate to others to help her out. And in that way, we can also help our husbands advance in their careers. And the fourth point is for successful women who have husbands who feel like they can't keep up with their wives. Don't let that make you feel insecure. Men have a kind of fortitude that women don't. That is generosity and magnanimity. We're the ones making the money, aren't we? So why don't we know how to use that money to hire someone else to help us out and lighten the load so that we can preserve our health and save that time to focus on bigger things? Instead of sitting there prepping vegetables or cooking a meal, you might not even cook as well as the house helper who specializes in cooking, right? So with that time, you could be resting or thinking about arranging plans for tomorrow, coming up with creative ideas, right? I think that a marriage always goes through different stages. In the beginning, when the couple is still young, newly married, and still in love, it's very easy to listen to each other. At that time, you should agree on all the so-called rules or internal regulations, or the division of labor, and establish it as a routine. Then later on, things will just continue that way. Avoid the situation where when you're young and newly married for love, you sacrifice. So many women spoil their husbands. Honey, you don't have to do anything. All you have to do is love me. Darling, I'll take care of everything. But then, there comes a time when it just gets too tiring after having a baby. Then there's work and the pressure of putting food on the table. It all piles up. And so, you get exhausted. That's when you turn around and start blaming your husband, nagging him. You don't help with anything at all. 100 different tasks fall on my shoulders. Well, in the end, you never let him do anything before. Then, all of a sudden, you're complaining that he doesn't do anything. Even if he wanted to help, he wouldn't even know how anymore, because he was never taught how, right? And that's why people say that you teach a child from when they are young, but you teach a husband from the moment he's new to the home. It's the same for teaching a wife or a husband. We call it teaching, but it's really about establishing a shared understanding from the start. To put it in modern terms, like this: I think in our family, I have a job, and you have a job too. In your case, you at least work a regular office job, whereas I have 2 work shifts. So when it comes to cooking, I think that if you're not used to grocery shopping, you'll gradually get used to it. On Saturdays and Sundays, I'll try to go to the supermarket. I'll buy things and stock the fridge. So there's that. As for meal, whoever gets home earlier has to start the rice. On days when we both get home late, especially before we have kids, let's just keep it simple. Go out and each grab a hamburger or a grilled chicken salad. Then we can use that time to sit in a coffee shop, hold hands, and just enjoy ourselves. Or go home, curl up under a blanket and sleep, or watch TV, or scroll through our phones. Why do we have to struggle so much with cooking? That's why the most important thing, as we always say, is communication and how you handle things. For example, in the past, there was a saying, a spoiled child is the mother's fault. A spoiled grandchild is the grandmother's fault. But nowadays, what have people affirmed? A spoiled child is the mother's and the father's fault. A spoiled grandchild is the fault of both the grandmother and the grandfather. Meaning, they're talking about the responsibility of both sides. Both sides. And so, in the past, if people say a man builds the house, as for the saying, a woman builds the home, well, these days, we have a saying that women also build the house, and men also build the home. Here's the thing. It just goes to show that every tree is different. Every flower is different, and every family has its own unique situation. For instance, in some families, the wife may not have had a proper education, might have poor health, and has no career. To speak of, she just stays home as a homemaker and takes care of the kids, while the husband works hard to earn money, and it's fine for him to be the main pillar of the family. If the wife has no objection and he sees it as a matter of course, then nobody is forcing women to rise up against it. Then, on the other hand, in those families where the wife is progressive, modern, earns good money, and is the pillar of the family, if the husband also serves as another pillar, then we just accept that the house has two pillars. That just makes the foundation stronger. But if you can't be a pillar, then you have to step aside and let the other person do it. The principle is just like playing a sport on a field. You have to remember to play fair. Don't play dirty. Don't get in each other's way, right? In other words, you have to figure out how you can both grow, right? That's the only way the family can be stable, and how you can keep your own roof and pillars strong and secure. So, what's my advice for young people who are about to step into the threshold of marriage? First of all, I want to say this to all you young people. We are not born into this world just to get a wife or a husband. So, don't be in such a rush. You finish high school with nothing to your name, and you're just fixated on finding someone to marry and just getting married. And you think that once you've found a husband or a wife, your life is all set. Sometimes you say you're doing it to settle down. Settle down for what? A year and a half. And then you're carrying your child back to your parents' house? What's so settled about that? Things are different now than they were in the past. So, you all need to have some capital of your own before you get married. And by capital, don't just think about how much money you have. The capital I'm talking about is graduating from college or getting an education, a vocational college degree, or having a trade. Even just learning a trade like hairdressing, shampooing, or spa services is fine. But that trade is a profession that allows you to earn a living. Because when you step into marriage, finding a husband isn't about finding someone to support you, but finding a partner to mutually lean on each other. So, if you want to lean on someone, then you also have to have something for them to lean on, right? Therefore, to avoid a situation where you're just confined to a corner of the house, of always being just the homemaker, we should have our own careers. The trend of women marrying late, I think it's all a good thing. They aren't doing it to fool around or for nothing, but to prepare themselves with a very solid foundation for life. Secondly, it's about having life experiences, traveling here and there, seeing the world, trying to work at a few agencies, a few companies, so that you have enough experience, enough life wisdom. The second thing is, also keep in mind, you can love many people, but you only marry one. Therefore, if our hearts flutter for someone, just go ahead and love. But remember that loving someone doesn't mean you have to marry them. Researching, getting to know someone, and loving are completely different from living together. We can love someone, but that love won't last forever on its own. To live together for a lifetime is much, much harder. You have to think about many things, from the compatibility of your health to their moral, character to that person's profession. Consider it very carefully. Just as the elders used to say, you kids, go ahead and get to know each other. Get to know each other really well. Whenever you feel it's okay, then come back and report it, and the elders will take care of the remaining procedures. For you, not like nowadays, where it's like, if you love someone, you marry them. We must remember that. We can love 2, 3, or 4 people, but why in the end do we settle on one? Why do you choose one person, right? And that person doesn't have to be the best person, but the person most suitable for you. Thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed this, you can like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Goodbye, and see you again.